Hello, good day everyone, and welcome back to my blog. So right now, this is one of the video lectures that I'll be producing right now. Since this is basically part of CBT training of seafarers. And we're kind of discussing this as part of our, of course, profession, because this is for academic purposes. We're not here to, of course, think about it as a job requirement, but we're just kind of like learning this in the academic way. So, like I said, let's begin on our learning video learning lectures here. So for today's topic, we'll be discussing, or we'll be studying, it's a study, think of it as this video as a group study. We'll be studying SOPEP, which is Ship Oil Pollution Emergency Plan, which is currently, of course, part of our work as a seafarer in case of an emergency. So there are several chapters here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not gonna take, it's actually 5 chapters, but we're not gonna take assessment because this is not a test. This is a lecture video, and lecture video for academic purposes. So anyway, let's begin here. Right, clear first bookmark. So yeah, let's start.
After completing this chapter, the learner will be able to recognize what a SOPEP and SMPEP are, identify which ships need a SOPEP or SMPEP, state the main purpose of SOPEPs and SMPEPs, recognize that in some waters, local laws may require a different response to that set out by the SOPEP or SMPEP.
Okay, so that
SOPEP is the shortened name for a Shipboard Oil Pollution Emergency Plan. As its name suggests, these plans are for use during oil pollution emergencies. Where pollution from liquid chemical cargoes is possible, a similar Shipboard Marine Pollution Emergency Plan, or SMPEP, is required.
Okay, so if you take a look at it, SOPEP and SMPEP are just basically the same thing. The only difference is that, of course, they changed letters. But honestly, SOPEP is usually used on oil tankers, usually with, you know, anything that is oil pollution related emergencies, while SMPEP is used for oil and chemical, you know, it's used for oil and chemical emergencies. So to simply put it, SOPEP is usually used for oil tankers, while SMPEP is usually used for chemical and gas tankers. Anyway, let's continue.
MARPOL Annex 1 requires oil tankers over 150 gross tonnage and all other ships over 400 gross tonnage to carry a SOPEP. MARPOL Annex 2 requires ships of over 150 gross tonnage which are certified to carry noxious liquid substances to carry an SMPEP. As the required format of an SMPEP is almost the same as that of a SOPEP, both plans can be combined into one plan, also referred to as a SMPEP. Sometimes other pollution prevention plans may be added to produce an integrated pollution plan. The most important parts of the SOPEP or SMPEP must be approved by or on behalf of your flag state. The plan may be checked by port state control, vetting and other inspectors to ensure it is approved, on board and up to date. You should be aware that Annex 1 of MARPOL sets rules for ships to try to minimize oil pollution of the sea. You may even be aware that the main text of MARPOL requires flag states to ensure their ships report any pollution incidents, and that coastal states have someone ready to receive those reports. Fewer people know that another international agreement, the International Convention on Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation, or OPRC Convention, has been created with the aim of improving cooperation between states when they need to deal with oil pollution in the sea. Part of that agreement was that ships would report oil pollution incidents quickly and effectively using standardized methods. The main purpose of the SOPEP is to ensure that this is done. The plans should be based on a standard format provided by the IMO. This ensures that nothing important is left out and helps users to find their way around the SOPEP on a new ship.
Okay, so that was interesting. So
Annex 2 of MARPOL sets rules for ships to try to minimize pollution of the sea by noxious liquids, and the requirement for ships to report pollution incidents in the main text of MARPOL also applies to Annex 2 chemicals. A protocol to the OPRC Convention relating to hazardous and noxious substances, the OPRC-HNS protocol, requires ships to carry a SMPEP so that pollution by noxious liquids is reported to the relevant authorities quickly and effectively. SMPEPs are also to be based on a standard format provided by the IMO. A SOPEP or SMPEP should contain structured, logical and safe procedures to set in motion the necessary actions to stop or slow the discharge of pollutants, followed by action to minimize the effect on the environment. The plans will be primarily used by the ship's crew during emergencies, although copies will be held in the office ashore. It must therefore be as simple as possible, with clear instructions in a language or languages understood by the master and officers.
Okay, so that was a bit quick, so let's proceed now.
An international agreement called the Intervention Convention allows coastal states to decide actions during a marine pollution incident, so as to minimize further pollution, regardless of your plans. This could perhaps include ordering that a stranded ship is lightened or towed away. This possibility should be mentioned within your plan.
Okay, next panel.
Sometimes local laws may require a different response to a pollution incident. The most well-known of these is probably the USA, where the Oil Pollution Act, OPAR 90, requires ships in US waters to have a vessel response plan. These have different reporting procedures, and the assistance available from shore to help with a pollution incident will be far greater. China and the Panama Canal, where a special Panama Canal SOPEP is required, have similar rules. Other incident plans may exist which overlap with or override the ship's SOPEP. For example, a ship on a short, regular route may be covered by the spill response plans in the ports at either end of the route. There should be instructions in your SOPEP saying which plan is to be used and when.
Okay.
We have now reached the end of this chapter introducing SOPEPs and SMPEPs. You have learnt that SOPEP stands for Shipboard Oil Pollution Emergency Plan.
Yeah, of course.
SOPEPs are required by MARPOL Annex 1, with the aim of ensuring that oil pollution is reported quickly and effectively using standardized methods. And that SMPEP stands for Shipboard Marine Pollution Emergency Plan. SMPEPs are required by MARPOL Annex 2, with the aim of ensuring that pollution by noxious liquid substances is reported quickly and effectively using standardized methods. You have also learned that there are occasionally times when the instructions in your SOPEP or SMPEP are overruled by intervention from the authorities ashore, by requirements of the port state for alternative plans, or by the existence of an overriding area plan. Before moving on to the next chapter, you should complete the following self-test questions to check what you have learned so far.
Okay, let's proceed now on that. So we have a little test questions here, but you don't have to worry about this because this is not a test. This is a lecture video, a study video. And of course, like I said, I don't want to simulate a classroom. We're here to learn, not go back to school. So anyway, let's proceed here. Which of the following people may inspect your ship's SOPEP? Well, the only choice here is letter A. Oh. Okay, well, I'll go for port state. Okay, a container ship carrying a package dangerous of regulated use under MARPOL Annex 3. Does the ship need a SOPEP? I don't think so, because it's not a tanker. Oh, okay. Who knows? I'm right. Okay, now we've finished. We're going back to the next chapter, which is the mandatory content. So let's begin with this one.
After completing this chapter, the learner will be able to list the mandatory information required to be within a SOPEP and an SMPEP.
Okay, right. I think it froze.
The IMO has issued guidelines on what should be included in a SOPEP and SMPEP, and recommended a format for the required information. Many plans follow the recommended format closely, making it easier to navigate around plans when joining different ships. Plans are required to contain instructions for the crew in the following sections: a preamble or introduction, explaining what the purpose of the plan is and its relevance to other incident plans. Reporting requirements, explaining when, how, and to who reports should be made. Steps to control discharge, explaining how to prevent the pollution from leaking from the ship. National and local coordination, explaining how the ship's crew and management will work together with the authorities. And additional information. This is non-mandatory information that could be helpful during an incident. Let us look at these sections in more detail.
Okay, let's do next. This is kind of a bit of a long
This section provides a general overview of the plan and introduces the reader to the basic concept of the plan. The aim is to assist personnel when dealing with an unexpected discharge of oil or noxious liquid substance in the case of an SMPEP. The plan must be able to cover any discharge, from a small operational spill to the discharge of all the oil or noxious liquids on the ship following a collision or other major casualty.
Okay, next panel.
The mandatory requirements are to ensure that a report of a discharge or potential discharge is made quickly and to the right person. This is to be followed by the actions required to minimize the pollution and ensure coordination of all cleanup activities. The reporting procedure will include guidance on what situations should trigger a report of pollution. These are when there has been an actual or suspected discharge of oil or noxious liquid into the water, and probable discharges, where there is not yet a discharge, but there could be one soon. Guidance on how the reports should be made, and instructions of who to contact.
Oh god, we just only started for about 30 minutes and this CBT is really starting to bore me. Anyway, let's keep up the pace so we won't get bored. Let's try to
an actual discharge is defined as a discharge which is not legal under MARPOL. For example, an overboard discharge of oil from the machinery spaces of more than 15 ppm, or on an oil tanker, a discharge of oil cargo above the 30 litres per nautical mile permitted by MARPOL. Either of these could be the result of monitoring equipment failure. It would also cover a deliberate discharge of oil made to secure the safety of the ship, or an accidental discharge following a collision. Prosecution could be avoided in case 1 or 2, using the Annex 1 provisions for exceptions, if a responsible attitude is taken and a report made. In the last case, a report is unavoidable.
Okay, so I guess that's quite a bit of a long panel.
A probable discharge is more difficult to decide. The plan should provide guidance on the ship operator's view of when an incident escalates to a probable discharge. Some examples are The ship is not under command and close to a lee shore, with little chance of regaining power soon, or with worsening weather. A crack is found in the ship's main deck or hull, which suggests a major weakening of the ship's structure, with the potential for a cargo leak. A cargo shift, so there is a danger of capsize, with loss of fuel oil into the sea.
Okay, yeah, in case of accidents, sometimes marine pollution is totally unavoidable. Okay, so how to report?
The plan will contain information on the preferred method of reporting. At sea, this will usually be a radio call to the nearest rescue coordination center, but other methods, such as email, may be preferable in some cases. Reports to harbors might be by VHF or telephone. Instructions on what to do in the event of undue delay in contacting the responsible authority by direct means should be provided in the plan. A blank copy of the standard IMO reporting form and an example form showing how to fill it in will be in the plan. The form should be used for the initial report to make sure all relevant details are included and can be understood by those who do not speak English as their first language. Follow-up reports may be necessary, and the plan should say how often these should be submitted and what information and form they should take.
Oh god, CBD trainings are really tedious and taxing, to be honest. But anyway, let's proceed.
If the ship is at sea, the initial report must be made to the relevant body in the nearest coastal state. A list of contact details for every coastal state is maintained by the IMO, and a copy of the latest list should be attached to your plan. If the incident happens in a port, then the national authorities may not have responsibility for responding. There should be a list of relevant contact details for ports which are regularly visited by the ship in the plan. On entry to every other port, the master should get the contact information as soon as possible. In either location, the ship operator will need to be informed of the incident so they can provide assistance. The plan will have ship interest contacts listed. Ideally, there should be one ship interest contact, such as the designated person ashore, with an alternative in case of communication difficulties. The person ashore can then contact the ship's insurers, flag state, class society, salvage company, and others, allowing the crew to deal with the emergency on board. Duplication of reports by the ship should be avoided to prevent confusion and unnecessary work.
Okay, that was a long thing.
While a report will enable shore personnel to prepare to deal with the pollution threat, the ship's crew are best placed to take immediate action to prevent or minimize the amount of pollution. The plan will describe the initial actions that are to be taken by those on board and identify who is responsible for carrying them out. The plan will address the following: procedures for spill prevention, and at least the following types of operational spills: pipe leakage, tank overflow, hull leakage, and any other operations thought necessary.
Okay, next panel.
Prevention is better than cure. Some general company requirements for spill prevention may be given here, such as scupper plugging, keeping decks as dry as possible, watch routines, level alarm or pipeline pressure testing, and placement of spill pumps, portable drip trays, etc. The plan should outline the procedures for safe removal of oil or noxious liquid substances spilled and contained on deck. This is normally through the use of onboard resources, stored together in a SOPEP locker. The plan needs to address the health and safety of the crew while cleaning up, and acceptable means of disposal of removed oil, noxious liquid substances, and clean-up materials. Extra protective clothing and breathing apparatus might be provided, especially when noxious liquids may be spilled.
Okay, so that was a long list, so let's continue.
This may cover hydraulic, fuel, lube oil and cargo pipelines. The plan should provide specific guidance for dealing with pipe leakage, such as preventative testing, rapid depressurization and emergency repairs. A general requirement to set up emergency stop procedures before pipe pressurization may be stated.
Okay, next, so there are types of leakages here. One is hydraulic, fuel, another is fuel, and the other is a lube oil, and of course cargo pipelines here. So anyway, let's continue. I can't say because I'm not an instructor like you. I am also a student just learning on this lecture videos and CBTs.
Procedures for dealing with tank overflows should be included. Actions such as lowering cargo or bunkers back to empty or slack tanks already in pumps to transfer the excess ashore should be outlined. Procedures for spills or leaks from cargo tanks on deck may be different to those for tanks inside the hull.
Okay. Whew, it's already half. Well, we still got 10 minutes to go before we take in a break. Because I'll be honest,
the plan should provide guidance for responding to pollution due to suspected hull leakage. This may involve guidance on locating the leaking tank and measures to reduce the head of cargo in the tank by internal transfer or discharge ashore. Major weight transfers must not make suspected hull fractures worse or the ship unstable. Facilities to monitor hull stress and stability during part loading or discharge should be identified.
Okay, right.
Other operations which could lead to spills or illegal discharges may be covered separately. Actions following engine room bilge monitor failure, bow thrust or stern tube seal leakage, for example.
Okay, well that was fast.
Casualties form another section of the plan. The following are the casualties that must be covered in a SOPEP or a SMPEP. Grounding, fire or explosion, collisions, hull failure, excessive list, containment system failure, becoming submerged or foundering, being wrecked or stranded, and hazardous vapor release. In SMPEPs, the following extra casualties must be covered: dangerous reactions of cargo, other hazardous cargo release, loss of tank environmental control, cargo contamination yielding a hazardous condition. We will look at what these are later.
Alright, that's
in many of these scenarios, the structure of the ship is damaged, or volumes of cargo or fuel need to be quickly moved around in a way that was not expected. The plan should say that care must be taken not to make a dangerous situation worse. Any means available to assess whether movement of oil or noxious liquids to minimize a pollution will result in breakup of the ship or make it unstable and liable to capsize should be detailed. For many ships, this will mean reporting the ship's status ashore to a contractor with specialized damage stability software, often their class society.
right.
Any of these casualties are likely to lead to more problems for the crew to deal with than just pollution, so they will be busy. IMO recommends the use of checklists, which will ensure that the master considers all appropriate factors when addressing the specific casualty and save time. These checklists must be tailored to the specific ship and cargo or cargo types. The plan must provide guidance on the priority actions to take in the event of a casualty. Priority actions may be general or specific to each casualty type. In general, the initial priorities following a casualty will be to raise the alarm, muster the crew and check for missing or injured, deal with injuries and find missing persons, assess whether any gases may have been released that may lead to fire, explosion or cause a danger to health, The situation can then be assessed before being reported and dealt with according to its nature.
Alright, next panel.
Examples of secondary actions appropriate to stabilizing the situation after a casualty are: reduce inert gas pressure, isolate damaged tanks and pipelines, try to ensure accommodation is upwind of any gas being given off, close non-essential air intakes, review list of cargo and/or bunker types on board, and check material safety data sheets for known dangers. These will be supplemented by casualty-specific advice. The casualties common to all ship types are: for noxious liquid cargoes, it is important to identify what substances are on board, their properties, and whether special protective equipment or unusual response techniques are necessary. Additional scenarios involving noxious liquids are:
Okay, I guess they're kind of finished here.
click on the buttons to see some typical factors to be considered.
Okay, well that was quick. That's a lot of supplementary specific advice here.
When the safety of both the ship and personnel has been addressed, the crew can start work on mitigating activities. That is, preventing or reducing the amount of pollution reaching the water. The plan should cover such aspects as assessing whether the situation is stable by monitoring of the bunker and cargo boundaries. Personal protection issues. Is suitable protective equipment available? Physical properties of the noxious liquids. Will they remain stable if mixed or if exposed to water? Next, you can think about slowing or stopping the rate of pollution by isolating leaks and perhaps using dispersants, absorbent materials, or neutralizing chemicals. Then you can work on preventing the spread of contamination, remembering that people's clothing and boots can spread the oil or chemical, and dispose of removed oil, noxious liquid substances, and clean-up materials.
Alright, what's this?
Quick and efficient coordination between the ship and national or local authorities is vital to minimize the effects of a pollution incident. The plan should instruct the master to keep in contact with the authorities so that both understand what is going on, what is planned, and what is allowed. The roles of national and local authorities vary widely. Some states will take charge of the response and charge the ship owner for the cost. In others, the responsibility for cleanup is the ship owner's. In particular, the acceptability of oil dispersants varies, with their use banned in some places, but use of some types allowed in other places. The plan will advise on whether dispersants or neutralizing chemicals should be used by the crew, and under what conditions.
Alright, that was very tedious. So we're just gonna end this chapter.
We have now reached the end of this chapter on the mandatory sections required to be in SOPEPs and
just to
SOPEPs.
refresh ourselves
You have
because,
learned that
wow, it's kinda
IMO
boring.
specifies an outline for the plan layout, with a preamble,
boring as well, and I need to
the
refresh
requirements for
something.
making a pollution report, if there is an actual discharge or a probable discharge. IMO requires that, as a minimum, the basic steps to control pollution arising from various types of operational incidents and casualties are included, along with guidance on how to mitigate, that is, minimize, any pollution if it occurs. Finally, some guidance to the crew on national and local coordination is required. Before moving on to the next chapter, you should complete the following self-test questions to check what you have learned so far.
Okay, so I guess we'll go on to the next panel here. Doesn't matter. So these are the main parts that make up SOPEP or SMPEP. Drag them. I'm not gonna answer that. So first is preamble, reporting requirements. The next steps to control the discharge, and third or fourth will be the national and local coordination. And number 5 is additional information. Okay, which of the following best describes the general scope of SOPEP? Well, I think we should go on this one because this is the long answer. We'll see if this works. Oh, okay. So it must cover the response to any polluting oil discharge from a small spill to an oil spill on the ship. Okay. Which of the following are good ways of preventing operational oil spills from polluting the water around the ship? Select all that apply. Plugging the copper plugs. Frequent checking of fuel tanks before I don't know about that. This is probably the engine, and I'm a deck, and I don't know about this one. But we'll just, give a tick on all the boxes. Oh, what do you know? All of them. I'm not an engine guy, but it says that all of these answers are valid. Okay, I'm not gonna answer this one. So, here are some of the most important actions to take in the event of a casualty that may result in oil pollution. Drag them into order so that they could be carried out. So the first one will probably be raise the alarm. Second will be mastering of the crew and check for the missing or injured persons. Third is deal with the injuries and find the missing persons. And number 4 is assessing the situation. Okay, so that goes our 2 chapters. We've already finished that, so we got 2 more chapters to go. But before that, we would take a break because this lecture CBT video is very draining on the mind, so I need to refresh myself. So let's go take let's go take a recess and be back here in a few minutes. Hello everyone, and welcome back. So it's nice that we had what do you call this, a refreshing break that we took a few hours ago. So let's continue on our CBT lecture session here. So let's continue. So we're now on the 3rd chapter, which is non-mandatory content. So let's see how it goes with this one.
After completing this chapter, the learner will be able to identify the information typically found within the non-mandatory parts of a SOPEP or SMPEP.
Okay, well that's it. That was a bit underwhelming.
The mandatory information already described will be approved by the flag state and difficult to change. It is therefore common to find a large part of the plan made up of information which is important but outside the approved section. This information can be kept up to date by the crew without invalidating the approval. Local requirements, insurance company or ship operator policies may also require that other guidance be provided in the plan which is beyond the IMO requirements. This might include plans and diagrams, the response equipment to be carried, plan testing and crew training, the shoreside spill response coordinator or qualified individuals details, salvage arrangements,
and
potential spill response contractors, planning standards, public relations, record-keeping requirements, and the plan review schedule and procedures. Click on the buttons to learn more about these.
Oh god, that's a lot of things. Anyway, it's a good thing that this chapter has only 5 panels, so we're now on the 3rd.
At the back of the SOPEP or SMPEP, there will be some appendices. These hold mandatory information which is expected to change and therefore cannot be within the approved pages. This will include the latest version of the IMO list of national operational contact points, blank forms to record and store the relevant contact details when entering ports. Completed forms for regularly visited ports are also stored there. the contact details for the ship operators. Other appendices might include blank forms for reporting pollution, drills, or training scenarios. And summary flowcharts.
Okay, so, fourth.
We have now reached the end of this chapter on the non-mandatory information that is often put into SOPEPs and SMPEPs. You have learned that it can include information on the ship, its layout and equipment, training requirements, dealing with contractors, salvos and the media, record keeping and reviews. There is mandatory information within appendices, so it can be updated regularly, such as lists of contact details.
Okay, so we have now finished this chapter, and we are now going to the final chapter before we conclude this CBT lecture video. So let's go, since this is the last one.
After completing this chapter, the learner will be able to identify how to use a SOPEP and an SMPEP during a pollution incident.
Okay, so this is quite long. This has 16 panels.
You will now be asked some questions to test your ability to deal with some oil pollution incidents, followed by some questions on some noxious liquid pollution incidents. See if you can use the SOPEP and SMPEP effectively. The test is not marked, and you can try it as often as you like. Move to the next page to start the test.
Yeah, I think we should move to the next page.
Your ship is in US waters on a coastal voyage between San Diego and Long Beach when the bridge watchkeeper notices an oil sheen in the ship's wake. What should the deck officer on watch do first?
I don't know. I think we should raise the alarm. Yeah, this is probably what your SOPEP and vessel response plans say to do, so I guess raise the alarm is the first step. Honestly, I'm not familiar with the details, but this is a learning experience, to be honest. Okay, next.
You are on duty on the deck of a ship which is taking bunkers from a road tanker. Which section of the SOPEP gives guidance on oil spill prevention during bunkering?
I'm not familiar with this. I think we should go to letter A. Oh, okay. Lucky me. Step A also covers it.
You are on duty on the deck of a ship which is taking bunkers from a road tanker when the bunker flange joint starts to spray oil onto the deck of the ship. What should you do?
I don't know, maybe tighten the flange? No, you could make the leak. How about raise the alarm? Okay, so raise the alarm. Honestly, this is quite of a gray area because in reality and in practice, in theory and on paper it says that we should raise the alarm. But in practice, on actual work, we should try to some steps here to at least reverse or stop the process. Like in my case, on the actual field of work as a seafarer, you are going to tighten the flange. That's the first step. And the raise the alarm would be the last one. But anyway, of course, theory and paper may sound nice, but in actual practice, it might be a little bit different. So this is one of the clear examples of this type of situation. Anyway, let's proceed. What section of the SOPEP would say what the deck officer on watch should do after he has been told of the oil leak? I'm not sure. Maybe mandatory. Okay, we're good with that.
Your ship has spilled oil into the water while bunkering from a road tanker. Which of the following would be a way of mitigating the pollution?
Well, it's already on the water, so the best thing we could do is get some device to stop the oil from spreading on the water. So I think letter C would be a nice option here, which is get oil booms and put around on the ship. Yep, That was what I meant, and it turns out I was correct with that.
Your ship is on voyage along the coast of Brazil when it is discovered that oil is leaking from the ship into the sea. The alarm has been sounded and the crew mustered without injury. Which part of the SOPEP is relevant to the master's decision as to what to do next?
Well, this is more of like the management rather than the operational. In other words, people on the higher ups on the ship are more involved in this than the guys or us deck ratings here. So I'll just make a lucky guess here. We'll probably go with operational spills. No. A preamble, no? Oh, okay, so reporting requirements will do. Okay.
The oil is found to be overflowing from a fuel tank vent pipe. Which part of your SOPEP will advise on this situation?
I'll probably think it's operational spills. So which is incorrect?
The ship sailed from port 3 hours ago and is now 20 miles from land. Who is the SOPEP likely to say the master needs to inform of the oil pollution?
It's either the virtual traffic. This is only a lucky guess. It's either the VTS or coastal state. But I think it's the coastal state. Oh, okay. Well, lucky me.
The master has to report oil pollution to the nearest coastal state, Brazil. How can the master find the relevant contact
Honestly,
details?
these details more revolve around the captain, not on the crew and ratings. So for us, let's be practical. By the time you reach captain, you're already in the seafaring job for more than 10 years. But for us ratings, that's not. This is not applicable. This question and situation is not applicable at all. I think the DPA would be nice. No. SOPEP. Okay, it's attached to the SOPEP gear. Who we should be bothering when it comes to an oil spill?
A loaded chemical tanker is sailing from Oslo down the long channel to the open sea during a winter storm. The main engine...
Okay,
The master of the chemical tanker decides to make a probable pollution discharge report by radio to the coastal state. How can he make sure that no relevant information is left out of the report?
Okay, so this is mostly for chemical tankers. I'm mostly involved in oil tankers, although in my early years I was working with a chemical tanker. I don't know, maybe A? Oh, okay, A is a nice, okay. The
main engine stops and the chemical tanker blows onto a rocky shore, but with no apparent pollution. What part of the SMPEP should be consulted?
Alright, operational spills. I think it's letter D. Maybe. How about... No. So it's letter C, spills resulting from casualties. So the first option will be the C, and then the second option will be mitigating the activities. Right.
The main engine stops,
okay, so
and the chemical tanker blows onto a rocky shore with cargo leaking into the water from a crack on deck.
Well, it took less, around
Which casualty instructions will you look at in the SMPEP?
Okay, look at this SM. Maybe, so letter C, no? Oh, so it's grounding. So the main engine in the chemical tanker blows up on a rocky cargo, leaking the water from a crack on deck. Which casualty instructions will you look at? So it's grounding, okay. Okay, so we've already finished all the chapters here. We're not gonna go for the assessment because this is mostly on the testing and or your proficiency test. And like I said, this is a lecture video. We're here to learn, not to test our abilities. We're here to absorb the knowledge and gain something from it. So anyway, I guess we're gonna end up our SOPEP CBT lecture videos here right now, or recorded recorded lecture videos here. So this is Operator 60. Have a great day, everyone. So if you like my video, you can just kindly click on the like and subscribe button. It will really help me a lot, especially on the YouTube algorithms. And you know, it also it will make me happy because at least I do know that somebody really appreciates my work, although it's a very, very boring CBT. So anyway, we're gonna conclude now in today's video. Again, this is Operator 60. Have a great day, everyone, and see you on our next recorded Let's Play. Recorded CBT lecture sessions. Bye-bye for now. Okay, yeah, this is the problem.